Hey everyone, good morning and welcome to the Reveal Autumn of Analytics presentation today on unlocking the potential of your marketing data. With me today, as usual, is Casey McGuigan, and she is going to help us drive this webinar in some demos. And the interesting thing is she has been working as the product manager for Reveal for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now, 4 years.
Yeah, I guess almost 5, I think.
5 years. But part of that, part of the job as a product manager is around marketing. And so she's doing a lot of product marketing, and she has more or less become a domain expert within Infragistics on this topic today. So we'll be looking to her for some insights along the way, and any commentary she might have as I go through the deck. And she's of course going to do a demo at the end. So let's lean on her because it's really, to me, fascinating. I'm involved on portions of marketing, specifically around SEO, but all the other stuff that drives leads and conversions, I don't really play a role in. And the reason I'm in the SEO piece is mostly because I manage all of these product teams and we control a lot of the content. And so we have these SEO experts on board and they drive recommendations and analysis, and then we flow that right into the product. So we're going to talk about SEO today, but we're also going to talk about the whole analytics landscape, go into email marketing, PPC, which is pay-per-click, SEO, which is search engine optimization. We'll do a demo and then we'll wrap it up. As usual, housekeeping, the slides and recording will be available after the webinar. If we can get these slides up on SlideShare between now and the end of the webinar, we'll post a link in the chat, but we will definitely follow up with an email. And then there's a little questions window, so please ask questions in the window. So this is our Autumn Analytics series. We did the Win More Customers with Embedded Analytics on September 30th. This week is Unlock the Potential of Your Marketing Data. Then we are going to move November 4th to 5 steps to app modernization. November 18th, Reveal versus the competition. One of the questions we get a lot is, why would I buy you versus the other guy? And of course, we have lots of reasons why, and we're going to talk about those on the 18th. And then on the 2nd, we'll have a guide to embedded analytics. So a lot of good content coming up. And today, I mean, you're going to be blown away by today's content. It's really interesting and it is really thought-provoking. And that's the idea is, you know, we want to not only sell you Reveal, but we also want you to think about things differently and think about things in an analytics way. And that's why we're doing these webinars every few weeks to continue to drive different areas where you might improve your business and really just the way you think. So where are we at today? Today, as we know, marketing tactics and technologies are ever changing. The data is endless. We talked in previous webinars about, you know, all of the data and combining the whole world has been duplicated, triplicated, quadruplicated in the last 2 or 3 years with IoT and just incoming data from all these devices and people creating data. And so what do we do with that data? Because what people want to do is capitalize on it. They want to figure out if that data is useful and then how it can help me hit my goals. How can it help me execute on my strategy? So overall, there is this big lack of operationalizing data insights. And this is huge. We went through it, as I mentioned, in the past at Infragistics in like 2005, 6, 7. We weren't as data driven as we could have been, but the culture of the company has changed where now everything is data driven. Sometimes it's annoying in a meeting because you think you're getting somewhere and someone's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we didn't think about this thing and let's go take a look at that. But the result ends up being the right result because you're using data to drive these decisions. And the shocking thing is 61% of marketers don't use marketing analytics to influence their organization's behavior or actions, which blew my mind when I saw that statistic. But why? And this happens at every company. And in fact, I'll give a couple stories around this as well as to why it happens. So first of all, they don't understand the metrics to track. there is this big issue with, you know, moving the needle, which means, are we getting to money? Are we making money? And so what are all the things that go before making money? So how many people are hitting our page? How many people are downloading our product or registering for our product? How many people are we converting at a certain product or a certain price point? And then ultimately, what is that revenue? Versus metrics like, we've boosted page views 47% month over month. And then the marketing guy gets a bonus because his metric was to boost it 20%. Well, we know a marketing person can pretty much do things to move the needle to any metric that is a vanity metric because they're easier to hit and they really don't get to that final thing, which is the dollar sign. Inadequate tools to capture their prospects and their customers' full story. So what tools are you using to actually get this data, and how are you analyzing that data? And then one of the things we're going to talk about a lot today is benchmarks and industry standards. So one of the things I always ask Casey and others on the team is, what's the industry standard? What's the benchmark? Because I'll see a presentation and it'll be like, we're down 7%. Okay, that's great. What does that even mean? I don't even know what 7% means. 7% to what? To the benchmark of that specific product on our own metrics, on an industry standard, on a goal or a KPI that we have. So there's all kinds of things that you really need to keep asking these questions like what, why, to finally get to the right answer. And this is shocking, but 2 out of 3 marketeers have said database decisions are more effective than gut instincts, which I was kind of blown away by this, but it still happens today. Gut instincts drive a lot of people's decisions, and emotion drives decisions. Like, oh, Apple made record stock gains last month or in their quarterly results, and their website does this thing. So let's do that thing because it works so well for them. Well, that's purely emotional and gut instinct. It has nothing to do with fact. It has nothing to do with maybe how it relates to your product or really how it relates to your customer. What is your customer actually looking for? Apple customers, they're rabid fans, so they are extremely emotional. So Apple is constantly hammering on this emotion through their web imagery, through their emails, through how they advertise their products. But what if you're selling a bolt? What does your customer actually care about when they're looking for that bolt? They're not looking for that emotional thing. They need to know that you've tested that bolt to the nanometer, micrometer, so it'll actually fit on the screw for the nuclear machine that they're trying to build. So you really have to understand things like your customer journey mapping. Who is your target customer? You have to A/B test on what works and what doesn't. How do we personalize the website? And there's some really cool tricks to do this. And then really, how do we segment our market? And segmentation can be done in many different ways, but it ends up being very important. So for example, Infragistics is a software company. We have offices in Tokyo, in London, in Bulgaria, Montevideo, Uruguay, New York, New Jersey, and India. So if we just said blanket, we're going to treat every area where we have offices 100% the same, we would be wasting a lot of money. If we didn't segment and say, listen, while India is a massive market for developers, the buying power is actually in the UK because a lot of these guys are software integrators that are working for banks or manufacturing companies. So we don't really want to market to the Indian developer community. We want to market to the UK tech executive. And so we segment out every aspect of our marketing to ensure that the results are matching to what our expectation, our goals, our KPIs are. That's very difficult to do because it takes a lot of tweaking, experimentation, and learning over time. But that's just one of the tricks when we talk about marketing. So when we think about these channels, there's a large range of channels, and you can't, unless you're like a big company, like Infragistics, a small company, 300 employees, you know, we're not like this big conglomerate like Microsoft. I mean, the number of employees we have, Microsoft has on their marketing team for probably SQL Server. You know, like we can't do every single aspect to the depth that we would like, And most likely you can't either. Most of our customer profile is either a small business or they are a silo in a large enterprise, right? And so they're kind of doing things on their own. They have a budget, and they might have 5 people in their marketing team, 10, not 300. So you have to pick and choose where you can monetize and capitalize the best on your goals and KPIs. So at Infragistics, while we do have folks that do community building, we have folks that do speaking engagements, we have folks that do community development, and things like that, the biggest bang for our buck is through 3 key marketing channels that we're going to talk about today, and that's social display ads, email marketing, and SEO. And actually, a little thing about social display ads, we started to get into it, that's a whole nother topic unto itself. So we're going to touch on it real briefly, but we're going to do a whole nother webinar on social, because social ends up being something that you could really go down a rabbit hole, because it ends up being a huge expense in marketing today, and the results would vary based on what your target is, what your products are, and how you're actually going about it. So pretty interesting when it comes to the different channels. But you may feel that in your specific vertical, for example, if you are in oil and gas, oil and gas does really well in trade shows because they need to go talk to CTO level people who are looking to make big decisions, which is like, not, am I going to buy a couple $1,000 software? It's more, am I going to invest, $500,000 to $5 million on a platform which is going to help me build this next billion-dollar platform, in the North Sea to dig for oil or find gas in the desert or something like that. So based on your vertical, it may be different. Viral marketing is a whole nother thing. This works really well with SaaS apps. It works really well in social, but it might not really work well if you manufacture windshield wipers, So just keep in mind, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff today. We're going to talk about a bunch of different verticals, but you have to know based on your market what works well for you. So first up, let's talk about email marketing. So what is email marketing? Email is digital marketing strategy to convert leads into customers and to increase the retention of customers. So, we get emails all the time, and this is the most common #1 form of communication. And over time, it's proven to be the best way to actually get someone's attention. The reason is that when I send someone an email, we know we're always looking at our email every day, but it forces me to do something. Like I have to perform an action. I'm going to delete the email, right click, move to junk. I'm going to open it. I'm going to look at it. So now I've opened it. I've performed some action, maybe some semi bit of intent. And then I'm looking at this email. Something looks interesting. I click on it. Now I've really shown intent that something is actually interesting in this email that I've chosen to open. But this process we go through thousands of times a week, or at least hundreds of times a week with the stuff that we get in our inbox. One of the challenges with email marketing is that statistically over the last really over the last 3 years, but probably the last 10 years, the numbers in success of things like how many people opened it, how many people clicked on something are getting lower and lower and lower because of technology. So things like the Other tab in your Outlook, things like the priority inbox in Gmail, what they're doing is they're pushing this really super important content that we really want you to read out of your main view. So it takes strategy, techniques, A/B testing to figure out, how do I get right into your primary inbox? How do I get into the main view of what you're going to see? And how do I affect these 5 key metrics that you need to really monitor when you're looking at the performance of your email? So we have the open rate, which means I've actually opened your email, the click-through rate, which means I clicked something on that email through to whatever page. And the way, if you're not really familiar with this topic, when you click on something and it's that long string after a URL, what's happening is the back-end system is actually going to know that it was you specifically that clicked it, what you clicked, when you clicked, what campaign it was, that goes into your Google Analytics, that goes into whatever backend database you might be using, Marketo, HubSpot, etc. And that's all part of this big amount of data that you're starting to collect. So imagine if you send out, you know, 1 million emails, and you do this every Tuesday and Thursday, and you do this for 5 straight years, you are getting a ton of data based on open rate, click-through rate, unsubscribe rate, etc. So the click to open rate is actually, okay, how many people actually clicked after they opened? 14%. Is that good or bad? I was actually reading an article, I don't know, over the weekend, I think, and it said, oh, your goal is 30%. So I'm reading this article, and I'm reading and I'm reading and I'm reading. I'm like, where does it tell me like anything about where they came up with this 30%? It was such a generic metric. And that's the point. All of these metrics are specific to your vertical industry. So my unsubscribe rate might be 0.1%, yours might be 70%. Why? Well, maybe it's because it's your vertical industry. What's your bounce rate, etc. So the key metric here is the click to open rate, and you need to start examining that maybe across verticals to see where everyone is at, but really, where does your industry fit in this click to open rate? So what we highlighted here was some, you know, outliers, the lowest and the highest, right? So in the agriculture, forestry, and fishing industry, the click to open rate is around 18%. And in the nonprofit industry, the click to open rate is around 10%. So we can start making all kinds of assumptions about this. Like, I'm a fisherman, and I'm looking for that new lure because I'm going fishing. And so maybe the lure manufacturing and new releases only come out a couple times a year. So when you get those emails, everyone's real interested in kind of seeing what's new. Nonprofit, you already know what's going to happen. They're asking you for money. So you see this email come in, oh, you know, help us here. We got this new initiative. Like, I don't have any money now. I can't really help. But the point is, you need to know where you fit in. So when you're giving a presentation to your management team, or when you're the product marketing person giving results to the VP of marketing, don't just say, hey, we need to hit a metric of 20% if historically your metric is in the 8% range or the 12% range. Know your industry, know how you stack up. And this is like an eye test to read, which is why we make the slides available in SlideShare, because we're not going to go through any of this, but you'll be able to go and find your industry. And we've put together this information so then you can use it to start helping you make decisions on your email performance for open rate, click-through rate. This is like unbelievable information. And then, of course, the best day to send an email, research shows Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, Tuesdays and Thursdays, there's other industry metrics like what's the best day to do a webinar? It's like Tuesday or Wednesday and Thursday. So there's a couple days a week where it's a good idea to do webinars on these days. You know, don't do them at Friday at 4 o'clock, right? Because, you know, no one's going to show up. And definitely don't do them on Sundays or Saturdays. You know, so this is all researched. So if you're going to send out emails, and go back and check, you know, like I was talking to Casey this morning about subjects, and we were analyzing subjects of political campaigns. And it's amazing how well researched political campaigns are on what the subject is and how they know their demographics so well. But they hammer you on Tuesdays, they hammer you on Thursdays. And by the way, they hammer you a lot, but you do get a flood of inbox emails on those days. Now that elections, especially if you live in the United States, are coming up, you're pretty much getting like 8 emails a day. But in general, they're using these techniques to drive you to the result that they're actually looking for. So we'll wrap up the email side and talk about these 8 ways to improve your performance. Send emails on the highest performing days. We discussed Tuesdays and Thursdays there. Segment out your lists. This is critical. Like I gave the example of where the developers are versus where the purchasers are, but you know, the messaging, the colors, you know, the pictures, there's so many things that you need to consider to get the best result. When you look at list segmentation, you really need to understand your audience and what they expect. Make sure your emails are mobile friendly. I had a talk this morning with our CEO. He was not happy because one of our SaaS apps sent over an email and automated. It was 100% automated. And he looked at it on his mobile and he was like, this thing is garbage. Like, it doesn't look good. I looked at it. I'm like, yeah, it needs some work. Doesn't look that bad. But guess what? You need to live up to your brand. So mobile, everything must be mobile today. If it's not mobile, you're going to lose a huge segment of your customers. In fact, many of the digital natives, this is their primary tool. This is where they're reading their email. So if they can't read it, you're never going to get a message to them. And digital natives, I think, are people born, was it after 1995 or something like that? No, 1991. I think it's 1991. Is that the digital native, Casey? I actually forget, but it's someone who's grown up, yeah, with digital. They were born with a phone in their hand or something like that.
I would think 95.
95. Okay. Yeah, that's like, so you'd be about 25 years old if you were born there, something like that, 24.
Yep.
But it's pretty amazing. I was on a flight once coming back from San Francisco. I was talking to this person next to me, and I'm a high tech guy, right? And I've got my iPhone, got my iPad, and I said, like, where's your iPad? How do you watch movies and stuff? And he was like, what do you mean? I don't, why would I need an iPad? I have everything I need on my phone, right? So even when it comes to digital natives, they do things on the phone. The iPad is sort of just like this thing maybe work gave them to do stuff on. Test between text emails and image-based emails. You know, we made a lot of assumptions around text where, oh, a text email will always get through. Well, that's not so true anymore. So like email messages, spam filters, and the other filters started to really filter those out within the last 5 years. And we said, well, text-based will work. Text-based still is not guaranteed to work because these tools are using AI to examine subject and content to determine if it deserves to be in your inbox. So you have to test this. Have your email come from a generic person instead of generic email. You know, at Infragistics, we test this all the time, and you'll see emails from Casey. You'll see emails from Jason. You'll see emails from team at Infragistics. You'll see emails from team at Reveal BI. We're constantly testing to see not only what gets the most open rate, but based on the email, what gets the most engagement. So for example, I might not get a click-through on an email that comes from Jason B, but I may get a reply. Hey, Jason, I'm a customer for 5 years. I downloaded Reveal. I tried this visualization out. Can I do this with it as well? So there's also that aspect of it. If it was at team@infragistics.com, it always goes to that generic inbox, and we might get it in a couple of days. So test that as well. Compelling subject line. What I can say about compelling subject lines is, honestly, if you haven't, go subscribe to every political campaign that you can and look at their subject lines and look at how they are getting these tens to hundreds of millions of dollars in donations a month, because they're getting a high volume of opens and clicks based on the subject. And the other thing is, people get really annoyed when you try to trick them. So I got an email a few years ago. I went to Build, a Microsoft event, and the email after said, you forgot your jacket at Build. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot my jacket. I clicked on it. It was like a marketing spam, you know? So anyway, not a good idea to try to trick people. Include personalization through tokens. So when you do segmentation and you know who the person is, when they click that link, make sure that page they go to is highly personalized, and it's like to their name, to their company, to what they are looking for. And then of course have a clear call to action, like download now, view this video. So John, who runs the webinars and he runs all of the video channels, he has metrics and KPIs on how many people watch videos, how many people, when he sends an email, click watch this video. So he needs to ensure that if he has an email with 4 call to actions, what's his primary call to action, and are the other maybe secondary or tertiary call to actions clear, that he's going to still be able to achieve metrics based on those calls to action. So very important on the email side. So this wraps up email, and let's move on to digital marketing. So a lot of good information on the email side, but digital marketing is all of this method in which you pay for a few visitors to come to your site. So there's multiple forms of this: display ads, search ads, social ads. Like I said earlier, social ads is going to be a whole nother topic that we talk about, and it's very relevant today. So we're definitely going to have a webinar on that in this series. But display ads and search ads are other ways of digital marketing, and we're going to go into each one of those. So when we talk about display ads, they refer to marketing your product through visuals like images or videos. So when you're doing a search, or you're on a like a page, like you're on the fishingreels.com, and then on the right hand side there's visuals that are driving that reader to look, click, and go buy the lures from your website because you have the best website, so you're advertising on that. So you've got site placement, you select websites where you want these ads to go, contextual placements, place ads on websites that are relevant to the product or service you're marketing within a set of keywords, and that's always very important as keywords, and we'll talk about that in SEO. Topic targeting, so specific pages with predefined targets. Remarketing is pushing your ads back in front of people who have been to your website. Remarketing is everywhere. Like when you wonder, when like 4 months ago you were thinking about buying a new chair for your living room, and then all of a sudden yesterday you're on like CNN.com and there's an ad for that chair company. Like, how the heck, what? That's remarketing. They're going back. I never did anything, but they're spending money to go try to get me to go back and maybe tell me a better story this time, which will get me to convert. And then intent audiences, so targeting users based on search and browsing they conduct to hone in on their behavior and use as indicators for your target audiences. So there's various strategies to place your ads. And again, all of these cost money. So how much money are you going to spend on each one, and how are you testing to make sure that your money is actually being spent effectively? So the effectiveness is similar to email. You've got cost per click, click-through rate, and conversion rate. So when you're talking to a seller, so for example, one of our favorite websites on the developer tool side is called C# Corner, and then one of our favorite websites on the reveal side well, there's not one favorite, there's several really good BI sites out there that we like to advertise on. And what they do when they're trying to sell you their dream, the dream of making us more money, is they're like, we have an amazing click-through rate. We're going to get your cost per click really low. Your conversions are going to be really high. So they're trying to say, like, spend $50,000 a month on my website for your ad, and you're going to get so many people clicking on that ad, you're going to make so much money. But it's up to you to really track it and use the tools to track it, because very quickly, if you're not monitoring how your cost per click is and how your click-through rates are, it's like flushing money down the toilet. And I know accidents happen and you can let things leak for a few months. Money's kind of going out because you messed up on one website or you weren't tracking another website, but this is really where a lot of marketing spend gets flushed down the toilet. And it's amazing. If you're a huge, like for example, you are a startup and you just got funding for like $50 million, and everyone reads the press release, you're like, oh, so-and-so company, $50 million. Well, guess what? They're gonna spend like $49.5 million on stuff like this. Click-through ads, and they're going to be flushing a lot of money down the toilet because their goal is to buy customers through marketing, right? But your goal, because you are a business that survives on happy customers and making money, your goal is to get a low cost per click, a high click-through rate, and a high conversion rate. So monitoring this is super critical. And of course, that's where Reveal helps out, and you're going to see a demo of that in a little bit. So again, let's look at industry averages. E-commerce, dating and personals, technology, they all vary, like travel and hospitality, they all vary immensely on what you're clicking. Now, dating and personals, amazing. The cost per click is $1.40, and what I want to do is get my cost per click even lower. So how can I get it down to 40 cents, 60 cents, etc.? My target cost per click is my revenue per sales times my website conversion times 20%. And that's a formula you can plug in for your own metrics, or tools will help you actually determine that. But I think one of the tools we use, Casey, is Google for this, right?
Yeah, we use combination of your Google Keyword Planner. We also look at Ahrefs for other keywords and their cost per click, and then just our internal data coming through, because you have to look all the way through to conversions. So it's a combination.
And then if I looked at dating and personals here, which is like double the closest, what's your analysis on that?
I mean, it's a popular market. So you'll see also in the search slides that we have here is the more popular that the keywords are, or the higher competition that there are for getting on certain sites or following certain people that are interested in keywords. There's not a huge pool. So I guess I'm not on them, but you have what, like your Tinder or your Bumble or whatever it might be, and there's like a handful of them. So the competition for those sites are particularly high. So your cost per click is then going to be high.
Okay. Yeah, there's that one website where they guarantee you're going to find someone. It wasn't one of
Yeah,
those two, but I
I don't
forget.
know. Maybe Match.
Match.com. Yeah, they advertise on the Hallmark Channel. So, all right. So that's actually some good insight there. And again, this is an area that I'm not an expert on. So what we do at Infragistics is, I know we're constantly adjusting our bidding strategy. And this is very similar to my example of the developers that use our product might live in India, but the tech execs that buy it are in the UK or the US. And so we're adjusting our bidding strategy to show display ads at certain times of day in certain regions and things like that, right?
Yeah, and then you can do things like auto bid strategy, or you can specify your bid strategy on specific keywords. Auto bid takes into account like the people and their what's it called, like their persona, and honing in on the ones that are converting based off the goals that you have in Google Ads, and then as a result, will then target that persona higher for your display ads.
Okay, wow. So then site exclusions, I assume, is very important, because we definitely do this. One of the things is, when you have a website, like Infragistics has been in business for 30 years. We've had a BI tool in Reveal for about the last 10, between Report Plus and Reveal. So there's a lot of these backlinks and a lot of sites that might have stuff up that we don't pay, or we don't want we don't want to pay people to click on. So site exclusions, negative keywords, long tail
Actually,
keywords.
Jason, something interesting with site exclusions is, now that we are kind of all working from home and in the world that we are right now, one thing that we internally noticed was we were getting a lot of clicks from YouTube channels around Peppa Pig, which, if you don't know what Peppa Pig is, it's a cartoon for little kids. So a lot of the display ads, because we have like a cool astronaut logo for our Ignite UI product line, were coming from Peppa Pig. So we had to include that as our site exclusion.
Isn't that funny? And
Yeah, well, you think people are home, their kids are using their laptops, so they're on their YouTube channels and clicking.
Wow. And when we were at the right before the lockdowns, Phil and I, our VP of sales, were in London, and we were doing an event there. I forget the name of the event, but they had a kids day, and we had a stack of all of our stickers. So we had the Spaceman stickers, the IG logo, Reveal logo, all this. Well, at the end of the day, there were one left in the Spaceman logo, and all the other ones were still full, right?
Yeah.
So, that's kind of interesting. That's really cool. And then what is the long tail keyword is really driving towards a secondary, or what does that mean exactly?
It's more so that, like, for Reveal, like, we target keywords such as embedded analytics. Long tail keywords would be that you're targeting the longer sentences that people are essentially searching for. So you're not just specific to, it would be searches that include like terms of embedded and analytics.
Okay, cool. And then of course, number 4, this is critical. Like I said, this is money out the door. You are spending cash to do pay per click, to do paid advertising. So you need to track, compare, and adjust at a high frequency to maximize spend. And we have folks that this is their full-time job. Because if you think like Infragistics used to do back in 2010, oh, we're going to have one person do like 5 marketing functions, you're all of a sudden realizing that you're not getting to your goals. And so having dedicated resources focused on this. Now, if you're only spending like $2,500 a month and that gets, very specific and it's not getting chewed through really quickly, that's okay. But once you start getting into the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, this is real money out of your marketing budget. So you really have to be careful. So looking at these click-through rates by industry, 2 outliers, real estate and technology, that's interesting. So what's the analysis here? I mean, I have my opinion, but what would you say, Casey, is to real estate and technology being the top and the lower end?
I mean, technology specifically, and it's an internal struggle we have, is a lot of people in that industry, they see right through your marketing. So they know when you're clicking on something with like UTM URLs on it, and they avoid your ads at all costs. So the click-through rates for them are a lot lower. I didn't really think about the high click-through rate for the real estate, but when you're in the market, you're in the market, I guess.
Yep.
So if I'm looking around for, like we are now, for like homes, like I'm going to be clicking around when I see advertising for specific homes and stuff in my area. So that would be my kind of assumption.
And probably like a nice picture makes you click on a home, like your dream home.
Oh yeah, definitely.
White
Nice
picket
pool in the
fence.
background or in the backyard.
Pool, yeah, right.
Yeah.
View of the ocean.
Yep.
But yeah, technology for sure. It's almost like, hey, I love it when sales says we don't get good phone numbers from people that download our developer products. I'm like, a developer, it doesn't want you to call them. They're never going to answer. Well, they're not going to answer the phone anyway. Don't worry about it. But yeah, this is all. Make sure the same message as before. Look at your industry and then understand where you should be. Because if I'm in real estate and I'm under if I'm at 0.3%, then you're doing something wrong. So 6 ways to improve your display ads through click-through. Make sure you're utilizing different target audiences, such as custom audiences, remarketing, or custom intent. Make sure your ad messaging and design match your landing page. This is sort of important that you're flowing through into that experience, the user experience. Provide a clear and powerful value prop. This is where we're always tweaking. So what we do is we don't leave it up to one person to decide what this is. The marketing team and Casey and others, they create spreadsheets based on the ads and not even looking at the visuals of the ad, but what is the call to action, what's the message, and then that gets circulated and then people comment on it. And it's important to include a bunch of people because, for example, on our developer tools side of the business, we just shipped this new product for Blazor. And that has a different meaning to a .NET developer than an Angular developer. So if we're spending display ads for modern web, we need to really target and have a clear value prop. And like Casey said, for analytics, embedded analytics, that is our go-to-market with Reveal. We want you to embed this into your application. So let's make sure that our calls to action aren't always those long tail keywords because those click-through rates are going to be lower, which means the dollars that we spend are going to be higher. Be sure to include your logo and keep it simple, silly, less than 5 words in your headline. Don't make it complex. Don't make it too long, or else people will just move on. So, wait, conversion rates. Oh, wait, what happened here?
They might have gotten swapped by accident.
Oops, what did I do? Sorry. So let's just go to SEO. So anyway, a few slides got mixed there, but you can read them in the slide share. Sorry about that. Plus, we want to get to our demo in the next 2 minutes. So let's talk about SEO. So SEO, or search engine optimization, this is what you hear about all the time. And why do you hear about SEO all the time? Because technically it's free. Like, you don't have to spend like cash, like, oh, you don't have to say, I'm gonna budget $3 million for SEO like you do for PPC. What you have to do is you have to have people that are qualified and that understand your market to ensure that your content is getting results through search engine optimization. So what's the difference? The difference is, and we have this big mantra at Infragistics for our Reveal product, for our DevTools products. We have like a bunch of different products. And so the range of keywords are very different based on the product set, but it's millions of dollars in revenue. It's millions of dollars in revenue being number 5 versus being number 1. And so when you're number 1 in a search result, so think about it, you can go search for anything. And if it's a really popular keyword like dashboard or business intelligence, there's going to be 5 ads. And then the first item is going to be the guy who did the work to get to number 1 for that search term. Now that person is going to be the first one that's clicked in a high percentage of time. Now what I do, because I'm a very skeptical person, I'm always clicking on the first few to go read the websites. Very rarely do I go to page 2 or page 3. But what this means is, did I spend $1.90 to get you to click on my display ad, or did I get it for free because I did the work for SEO? So search engine optimization is important. So there's 6 metrics for measuring SEO success: organic sessions, keyword ranking over time, conversions, bounce rates, pages, sessions, and session duration. So just a little tip, like this is something, like I said, we spend a lot of time at Infragistics. Casey's an expert at it. We hire experts at it. And you need to have someone on your team who is very analytical and who can dig into the numbers to really understand what's going on. So it's not as simple as, oh, we want to rank number 1 for embedded BI. So let's put embedded BI 1,000 times on our page. It's not going to work. Google's algorithms are going to see through that. So there's all these techniques that go into getting higher into SEO. So of course, the way your content's arranged, what's the length of your content? How are your keywords used within that content? And is the content relevant to the keywords you're trying to rank for? Are people linking to that page? So there's this concept called backlinks, which also helps your SEO ranking. And then what is all of your meta tags and other information that's not visible to the user? What does it say about the page? And so there's all this stuff that goes into getting to be in the top page, and then in the top 5, and then in the top 3, and then number 1. There's no book that says if you do this, you'll be number 1, because Google's constantly changing their algorithms, and it's highly coveted and highly secret because the results are millions of dollars back in revenue to people who can do the work and really figure out the puzzle. So while we can give guidance, there is no like, here's the silver bullet. So there's definitely at Infragistics, what we do is we use tools to determine what are the most popular keywords for the products that we build and that we're trying to sell. And then out of those keywords, which ones get the most searches per month? Out of those searches, which ones are in high paying segments of the market? So are they in the United States and in Europe, or are they in, whatever, low paying regions, like whatever? Are they in North Korea? Or they don't really have internet there, but there's regions where, yeah, you might get, people looking for it, but they're never going to buy the product, or there's hackers. So one of the things, and not to, talk about Russian bots and Russian websites, but it's amazing how many backlinks we get from .ru. And so there's a lot going on to where people are trying to trick these SEO search engines, but Google sees through it. So you really got to be careful. And then one of the things you can do is if there are backlinks that are hurting you, go get those removed, right? Because that will affect your organic keyword success. So it's amazing what you start learning when you look through the tools and how you can tweak things to constantly get SEO success. But the thing is, you need to use tools to tell you how you're getting success. So one of the tools I know we use is Google. So Casey, can you talk a little bit about how we use Google to help us for search and keywords and things like that?
Yeah, we use both. What you're showing here is Google Analytics, and we use Google Search Console as well. So these images here highlight how there's actually a benchmarking tool within Google Analytics where you can select your industry that best relates to you, and you can see how you're stacking up against other people for things such as your sessions, your bounce rate, new visitors that you're getting, essentially any metric that you see there kind of behind, like how long people are staying on your website. So underneath the audience side on the right-hand side there, you see the benchmark per channel, location, and device. So a lot of that is built right into the box there. And then we use things like Google Search Console where you can see what keywords exactly are leading to clicks to come to your website. You can see an average over time your ranking for particular keywords. So we'll look at both of those. So we have our top 5 keywords for all of our product lines that we look at the average ranking for each month and see how we're improving there. And then we see, okay, what else is bringing them people to the website, because they're not all coming from the top 5 keywords, although we wish they were. But then you'll see like how much brand awareness you have and how maybe you're not attracting the right users with your organic traffic and things like that.
And then one of the other things we went through at Infragistics is we have a forums, like, where you can go and ask questions and get answers. And we've been in business for decades. So there's millions of pages across our web properties. And so what we discovered maybe 4 years ago was that Google was penalizing us because of spammy links in content on our site. So would these tools be able to help someone like get that level of detail, or are there other tools that help do that?
That would be more so in Ahrefs. You can get a lot of that information. So looking at your what's it called, the URL domain ranking that they have.
Oh yeah, the domain ranking.
Yeah, that takes into account all of those things, and they allow you to dig deeper into all of those different aspects.
Okay, so that's definitely something to look forward to. So when I mention like the Russian bots, and in all seriousness, what happens is whoever, it doesn't matter. They try to spam whoever they can to affect your website. And you might say, I'm a small guy. And that's what we thought. Like, why would anyone try to attack our website and start polluting it with spam, like spam replies, bad links to websites that don't exist? But it happened over a period of time. And if you don't remove that, then Google penalizes you. And so then you might think you have the perfect content, and why am I not in the top page at least? There's other factors that go into this that you really need to understand the full impact of how these web searches work and what Google is doing to either say, yes, you are valid and good, and we're going to rank you and we're going to include you, or you know what, we're going to penalize you and knock a couple points off of these pages, which is going to affect your overall ranking, which is going to affect what Casey just mentioned, this domain ranking, and that'll affect your search results. So with that, why don't we jump over to a demo and show some of the Reveal features and capabilities on how we can help and how you can actually use Reveal to monitor all of this information. So let me see here. I'm going to.
I can never find the screen share on here. Do you have to make me?
Yeah, I'm going to make you the presenter, and I'm going to click yes, and you are the presenter now. And let's see if I see your screen. Yep, I see your screen.
And you see Reveal?
Yep, looks good.
All right, cool. So I am going to run through a super quick demo because I know we have 9 minutes and some questions also coming through. But as always, I'm going to demo on the web here for Reveal. We have Reveal available for your desktop, your iOS, and your Android with the same experience across all the different platforms. So any feature that you do see in this demo is also available on all other platforms. So keeping with the point of our webinar here, I'm going to demo quickly just going and connecting into Google Analytics. So just I'm here in my home area where I have all my personal dashboards that I definitely need to go through and clean up. But I'll come up here to the Add Dashboard button. You can see all of the different data sources that I already have available to myself through Reveal, as well as I can add any new data sources here, and you can see the list that we provide out of the box, as well as we do ship around every 8 weeks, so we're always adding new data sources to that list. But looking at Google Analytics here, I'm going to come into one of our staging environments, so it's not going to be the best data, but it looks pretty good. So this is just our website staging where we do a lot of our testing and stuff like that. So I'll click on this property here and select this data. And now I'm in the visualization editor. So over here on the left-hand side, you can see all of the fields that are available to you within the Google Analytics on the Google Analytics website, broken out into dimensions and measures, just as they do within their own tool. So just scrolling quickly through here, you can see the conversions that would come through that you have set up within your properties, some of like the session data, your time-based metrics, your traffic sources, and then within the measures is where you would have your things like new users, your sessions, your bounce rates, as well as if you have your Google Ads connected to your Google Analytics, you can view that all from right within this one data source. So I'm just going to create quickly, we're going to use date here. We're going to use sessions, and then I'm going to change this to a line chart. By default, I'm in years, so I'm actually going to change this to months. And the way Google Analytics works is you have to have a time-based field, which you can see right here is by default. We set the last 30 days, which they do as well in their tool. But you need some time range selected. But after I am done creating this particular chart, I can hit this check up here. And what we have in Reveal is 3 different levels of filtering. So that one that I showed you with the date field, that was a visualization level filter. We have, or a data level filter. We have visualization level filters and then global filters, which is what you see up here. So I can actually add a date filter to here. I'm going to select that I want it to be connected to the date. Click create, and now it's changed to all time. I can come here, change this to last 365 days if I wanted to, or whatever fields that I wanted to change that to. So say I wanted to look at maybe just my organic traffic, or I want to see the traffic coming in from my different sources and how they're stacking up. So I'm actually just going to duplicate this, come into edit mode here, and I happen to know that the field in Google Analytics I need is traffic channel source or something, default channel grouping. So I'm going to add that as a category, and then I'm going to change this to a stacked column here, and now I can see, all right, what is the breakdown of the traffic coming to my website? Direct traffic is people that are typing in your URL and coming right to your page. Organic is your traffic coming from organic searches. If this was live data, there would be a field for your CPC display and search ads. And then you also have all your referral traffic. So I'll do traffic by source. And the only reason that those, again, aren't coming up here is because I'm using a staging environment. We don't send any paid traffic to our staging. And then also what I put together was with Reveal, the nice thing is I can come up here and bring in a totally new data source. So if you wanted to bring in now your Google Ads data, your HubSpot, your Marketo, any other data source that you wanted to, you can. Just due to the way that those kind of work, I'm not going to show those live connections because they'll be our real data. But I did just quickly put together an Excel file that I can show you how to set up some visuals to see how you're tracking against goals. So if I come here to this file that I have and come into the editor, I just have these fields within my Excel file here. I'm going to use this campaign ID. I'm actually just going to filter by like the first few in here. And then I'm going to look at cost per click. I'm going to change this to a currency and see 2 decimal points. And what I'm going to actually do now that Jason gave that awesome presentation is I know now that the industry average is, I think it was 63 cents.
Yep.
All right, so I'll put in 63 is my minimum. I'm going to change it to green because the lower I'm paying for my same amount of leads, the better. All right, and then I'm going to change this to 0.64. This is going to be red, the more that I pay per lead, and update that. So you can see here, and I'm actually going to make this a little bigger because it might be small. So for some of the campaigns going on, is this one right here is actually performing well against the industry standards. So I'll do display ads cost per click like that. So I have a cool table like that. And then I have 2 more minutes. I did set up one other way to show you how to do your goals kind of like over time. So I'll just super quickly duplicate this, go into edit mode here, and I set up, I'm going to do a combo chart. I'm going to quickly do date for my emails. Let's look at our product emails, click-through rates on average. This will also be a percentage. And then I set up a field for the click-through rate. Oh, wait, no, I want click to open. And click. And then this goal here, we're going to set this to be the minimum, and then month. Maybe I'm using the wrong field.
Wow, that's slick.
I forget now which fields I set up perfectly for this to look nice. But you can see I have it nice on my iPad here that I created before. But you would have your bar charts going across. I can actually just probably open the sample I have.
I mean, that obviously you know the tool really well, but it seems very easy to create that type of comparison.
Just like this here. So you have your goal going across the top here, and then your percentages for your click to open. That was the field I should have been using on average over your month. So you can see how you're stacking up to a goal that you have.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. So was that all you had to show for today?